Omaha Mom, it's me, Sarah, and I am so excited today. We will be talking with Dr. Will Ferguson. He is a member of the Eye Care Council, and he will be talking to us about a really awesome program for parents that they should be aware of for eye health in their children, and it is called See to Learn. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Dr. Will Ferguson, and we'll go from there.
Hey, thanks, Sarah.
Hi. Hi. Sorry about all the technical issues.
Hey, that happens.
With me.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just the sign of the time, I guess.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and it's great that we can. It'd be fun to do this in person, but great that we can do it, remotely as well. So.
Yes. I appreciate you. And so let's start off with tell us a little bit about what is See to Learn.
Yeah, so See to Learn is a program started by an entity called the Eye Care Council, as you mentioned, And what it is it's a way to try to give kids the opportunity to enter into their school career, so to speak, unaffected by vision problems. That was the main impetus of the program. And how it works is parents can schedule a free eye exam for their kid who's 3 years old. And what they have to do to sign up for it is find a provider, an optometrist office that is enrolled in the program. And you would do that by going to seetolearn.com. So C as in SEETO and then learn.com. And it's a great program. It's really easy to use, and there's providers all across the state. So it's, as far as it goes, it's a pretty no-hassle program. It's really easy to use. They've documented over 60,000 kids that they've helped to accomplish their goal of catching vision problems, preventing them, and making sure that when you go into school, you have the #1 tool for you, for your learning, available to you and working at its maximum. So.
Right. So can you kind of expand on why is it geared towards 3-year-olds? Is that like an age where vision problems are the most apparent, or why 3-year-olds?
Yeah, that's a good question. You can certainly do eye exams on children younger than that. There's things like the Infant C program for between 6 and 12 months of age. But as you begin to develop, as kids do, both cognitively and emotionally and visually and physically, they're growing like weeds, right?
Yeah.
And I would say maybe it's to avoid the terrible twos, but no, I'm just kidding. I feel like I can say that because I have 2 kids, yeah. But no, it's kind of an age where vision is emerging more as your dominant sense, in the sense of they can kind of start to begin counting almost, or they can start to begin recognizing certain patterns. They're a little bit more mobile. You might see them bumping into things, So some vision things can emerge at that age, but the other thing is they're more cooperative to some degree in the exam lane, in the sense of you can get some subjective testing out of them. You can say, look right here and tell me what you see, And the big deal is you want to catch problems early, because 80% of your learning is estimated to come through your visual system. So the Eye Care Council was started a long time ago, 25 years ago plus, by optometrists who are seeing kids who are 7, 8, 9 years old and just discovering their vision problems. And it was a little bit tougher to treat some of the issues, and a little bit more frustrating. Like, gosh, how can we... what can we do to get some outreach and a program and information to educators and parents that can then allow them to access eye care easily? So I think those are some of the major points,
Okay. And so what does this See to Learn program, what does that cost to parents? Is it covered under insurance? Can you expand a little bit about that?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so the nice thing about the program is, like I said, it's no hassle from the standpoint, I feel like, of logistics. It's pretty easy. Find a provider, get it scheduled. But the other thing is, you don't have to have insurance, not have insurance, nothing to do with insurance. It's just literally, if you're 3 years old, free exam. So so if you're a bit of a planner though, and and if you're one of those people that wants to get your kid in right now, it's like, okay, you do have to wait till they're 3, but also, if you're just hearing about it now, and, it's kind of a tough time of the year too with back to school exams, so if you're nearing that 4-year-old mark, just try to search a provider that you can find that can get you in sooner.
What are some warning signs? You mentioned bumping into things. which is just a toddler.
Yeah, exactly.
But what are some other warning signs that parents can be aware of that we might just say, oh, it's a toddler thing, but it could actually be a vision problem?
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes rubbing your eyes, kids will rub their eyes if they're trying to see, or obviously if they're squinting, or if they're turning their head too. Sometimes what you can do is you can turn your head to try to get your dominant eye in a position to to be the best viewing gaze possible. There's other things that are more subtle though, like not a lot of kids have headaches, but if they do complain of any sort of vague sort of fatigue or their eyes hurt, obviously if you see an eye turn, that's a sign. But that can be hard to pick up sometimes, because even probably on this camera, if I'm looking like this, you can see a little bit more white of my eye here than you can on this side, but your nose also blocks it. Now kids have a flatter bridge of their nose, so it's interesting. Sometimes it can appear they have an eye turn when they don't, or you might just go, oh, yeah, maybe that's nothing, But if you see some sort of eye alignment issue, or they just seem like they're under some visual stress, or they're turning their head, those are all good things. Even from the aspect of, like I said, 80% of learning happens through your vision, it can be things too where if they have no interest in reading, and they really don't even have an interest in looking at the books, they maybe just want to hear you talk or hear you read the book. But, kids generally are interested in the pictures and want to see them. But, that can be a warning sign. It also could be if they sit close to the TV. I hear that one a lot. Or you give them an iPad or something and they bring it really close to their face,
Yeah.
Other than that, maybe copying forms. You're trying to get them to learn how to just copy or color, and they can't say in the lines, stuff like that. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of those signs, I think I need to get my 5-year-old in.
I know, you never know. And that's the thing is, that's the hard part about it, you guys. Okay, is this a kid thing? Is it just my kid? Or is it, is it actually a vision problem, so.
Yeah. Does it also affect listening? Because I have that problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, selective hearing. Yeah. If we could solve that, that might be. We might be onto something. Yeah.
They make an appointment for their 3-year-old. What can they expect at that first appointment? I know taking mine to like the dentist or doctor's appointments can get a little unnerving. What could they expect to kind of help ease that newness of a optometrist?
Well, I think a lot of that is, I don't know, there's been parents that I've seen, they've bought books, like about a kid that goes to the doctor. We have the Berenstain Bears books where they go to the dentist, and stuff like that, or Froggy goes to the dentist.
Yeah.
Some of them do go, there's a Froggy goes to the optometrist, or, and the Berenstain Bears go to the doctor, they do the eye chart, so you might find little things like that the kids can easily relate to, or, there's Barbies that are optometrist Barbies, that sort of a thing. But otherwise, just talking to your kid about, mommy wears glasses or daddy wears glasses, that sort of thing can help. But oftentimes, if a practitioner is enrolled in the See to Learn program, they're usually fairly comfortable with working with kids. And, I've often found that just treating them like a person, that is really helpful. You just walk in and meet them on their level and see what they're like. If they're the rambunctious all over the place kid, sometimes you have to almost change your demeanor to try to slow them down and give them something that's, maybe you do your sequencing out of order, like you show him the most interesting test first, and that they get to put on the Spider-Man glasses or something, and then they're hooked, and then you can kind of transition to more slower stuff where they have to really look at a target, or something. But generally the scariest thing, I guess, for a kid is that, they're up in a big chair by themselves and they're kind of the center of attention, So it's, good too to have a parent stand by them, hold their hand. They can even sit on the parent's lap, stuff like that. So as far, and that's more for kid oriented. As far as what parents can expect too, though, the other good thing about the program that's different is, I think there's a lot of confusion around, okay, what is a visual screening versus what's a visual assessment, like in this case, and what's a comprehensive exam, So with the screening, you're typically going to get that at a pediatrician's office where they would cover up an eye and try to read a chart, And a lot of kids at age 3 just aren't ready for that, you know. Some pediatricians will have the spot screeners where they stare at the thing and it flashes and gives you a guesstimate of their prescription, you know. So not saying screenings are bad by any means whatsoever, you know, we need those because that catches kids, but they do have limitations and it misses things, you know. So what we would do is look at depth perception more, eye alignment more, ocular health, you know, but usually we don't dilate at that exam. Usually you don't put drops in, so it's yeah, so that's a good thing to know. That's
one of my least favorite things.
Personally, or when you take your kids to do it, you mean?
Personally,
yeah. It's not fun.
No.
Yeah.
What are some things that we can do at home to promote healthy vision? I'm sure not watching 20 hours of TV is one of them, but what are some other things that we can promote as healthy vision in the home?
Yeah, so on the See2Learn website, they have a lot of good information that talks about that. They talk about that. They talk about they'll talk about some of the warning signs that we just talked about. You know, same thing with in Nebraska, they have the Nebraska Foundation for Children's Vision, and that's just nechildrensvision.org, and that also has a lot of good materials for that sort of a thing, resources and things that you can do. But yeah, like you said, you know, it's just kind of being mindful of the fact of, okay, I now know that there's these types of problems out there. I need to be vigilant upon them. Take advantage of things like the See2Learn program, and then follow up when the kid goes to school, when your child goes to school with a comprehensive eye exam where they'll probably do a dilation when you're around the school age. But other than that, yeah, if you're not outdoors, you're inside, you know, people are going to gravitate towards their phones and the screen time and stuff. So as much creative play as you can do is great. And studies are starting to show too, if you do 2 hours of outdoor time per day, it significantly reduces your chance of becoming nearsighted. So kind of interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a fabulous program. I wish I knew about it when my kids were 3.
I know, right? Yeah.
But I have a 2-year-old, or almost 2-year-old. So
there you go. Yeah, there you go. And that's what's great about this. So thank you so much for doing this, because yeah, that's the whole thing is, I feel like people know to go to, you know, the profession of dentistry has done a good job getting people to go to the dentist, and you go every 6 months. And so I think that's this is just awareness, and optometry as a profession, making sure that we're taking care of the next generation of kids, you know?
Right. I know when I have twins, so I was always watching for like lazy eye or something like that. But I didn't even think of like some of the other, like the squinting or the moving the head. So those are really great learnings for myself, and I know for our readers as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you.
Yeah, and some of the sneaky stuff too is if a kid they're farsighted, but you can't tell because they just get by with compensatory mechanisms. They just use strategies to get by, so they seem pretty normal, and then you get in and it's like, holy smokes, they have a really high prescription. They're letting things mostly be blurry, but they focus really hard when they need to, so they can do this sort of transient thing that is more sort of covert and goes under the radar, you know? So it's just, yeah, so it's good to catch those.
Like kids' glasses. Is that like at what age do they start with like contacts and stuff like that?
Ooh, that's a good question. That one, I usually say I turn to the parent first and say, you know, responsibility is one of the biggest things with the contact lenses. So if you're getting in them just to avoid glasses, you know, like say you're nearsighted, you just want to play sports with no glasses or sports impact resistant glasses on, then you're usually talking about, you know, 11, 12, 13, something like that. But often it's a great opportunity for the optometrist to turn to the parent and go, well, does he make his bed every morning, or does he have a chore that he's supposed to do? Okay, don't even talk about contacts till they can responsibly do a chore that you don't have to be on their back constantly about, because you don't want to have to think about, they're wearing them in a hot tub in a swimming pool, they're sleeping in them, they're not taking good care of them, you know, like you just want to be careful with them. But we've had some sort of medical conditions where you want to get a contact lens on one eye or both eyes, and I think the earliest I've done it was, you know, 5 years old. In that case, though, the parent is, you know, helping put it in and take it out. But And it's interesting, yeah. There's a process that we have the kids go through where they get used to touching their eyelashes, and then the parents, and you sort of desensitize yourself to that. And it, you know, kids are amazing. They'll surprise you, you know, with things that they can do. So,
right.
In a lot of ways.
When they were two, I had a daughter. She poked my husband's eye, and he has perfect vision, and it was like a millimeter from his cornea.
Oh yeah.
And so she had to wear a medical
contact,
and it was like trying to wrestle an alligator to try and get it on his eyeball. Like,
yeah.
This is never going to happen. So.
Yeah, that's always an adventure.
Well, thank you. Is there anything else you want to share with the program or just with eye health in general?
No,
here's your opportunity.
Yeah, the only other thing I can think of is what I like to, you know, most parents know this and they think about it, but some of the greatest things for kids are just literally spending that time sitting down and doing creative play with them. And if you are quick to give them the answer, they don't get the opportunity to search for it. You know, if you're doing like puzzles or something like that, or, you know, there's a lot of things that I like to do that just like I spy things, you know. So like I spy something that's red, you know, and so they have to start then immediately searching their environment for things that are red, you know. Or if you're going to sit down and play a game that's a board game where you have to count squares, you know, like Chutes and Ladders, you know, or something like that. If you're going to play Yahtzee, where they, you know, can start to understand what like a full house is, or that you start to group twos together or fives together, you know. All those types of things are great because you're sort of trying to establish patterns. And that's what a lot of learning is figuring out patterns, and a lot of that is visually mediated. So even like the pattern of like a B, you know, like a B versus a D. You know, kids are going to reverse some letters for a while, but if you get into a good pattern of constructing the letter consistently, you know, a B, you come down and then you make the loop, you know. Same thing with if you're then, say, going to write the letter, if you're confused of how to write the letter B or D, don't just wing it and write it and who cares. Have the child try to stop and picture it in their head. Maybe their name has a B or a D in it, or maybe they have a dog with the name in it, you know, something like that. So you try to give the kid a frame of reference so that they have a prior experience with it, they can visualize it, and then when they go to produce it, they're producing it from an internal representation, you know? Okay. So there's just a lot of things like that, where if you just stop and try to get your kid to notice patterns and think about things, and you give them a little bit of context and they go with it, you know, not everything has to be structured, but certain things do. And so it's a blend of sort of creative play and structured play, and just, you know, just that sort of thing is important. So when you mentioned the I Spy, we do that in the car to like try and get you know, so they're not on a screen or anything. Absolutely. Like I spy an orange car, so then they have to find it. And I didn't even think that would be a really good eye test for them to make sure that they can see the letter M on McDonald's. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and yeah, that's a good point too. You know, what I like to do too is, you know, you might have like a Hy-Vee bag, or you know, or you might have a certain product or something, like you said, McDonald's, and you know, that's kind of the precursor to like sight word reading. You know, if you recognize like Hy-Vee and you recognize Hy-Vee, you go, yep, that's what Hy-Vee looks like. That's the letters, you know, that make up Hy-Vee. So you start looking at words and like, hey, that's the word said. You know, that's how that word looks. Take a good, you know, notice of that and remember what that looks like. Let's try to find it in the next sentence, or let's try to find it on the next page, you know, and in that sort of a thing. So it's pretty easy stuff. It's just taking the time to stop and do it with our busy lives, you know, so. Right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, if there aren't any questions from our community, I think this has been such an insightful conversation, and I appreciate you coming on here today and sharing all the insights there. I know eye health is so, our eyes are just so important. So I love that this program is available, and it's available nationwide, correct? Not quite. There's a lot of states like North Dakota, Minnesota, all the way down, and then like Tennessee and Virginia. So it kind of, I don't know why it's focused in that area, but that's where it's become popular, I guess. But it is, yeah, it's a great program. So thanks for having us on so we can spread the awareness for it. So. We hope people take advantage of it.
And I wish you a happy 2021. That's what we're in, right?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's hard to remember these days.
I have to go back to school shopping tonight, and I am just not ready for it.
Yeah, I know. It is interesting. It's like, it's sad, but it's like, yeah, we have to orient. Okay, what year is it? What month is it? Okay, now what day is it? You know, so it's.
I know. I keep saying, 2020, and I was like, well, that was like 7 months ago.
I know. I saw someone. I mean, quite frequently this happens. I'll see. Oh, when did I see it? 2019. Oh, yeah. So it hasn't been that long ago. Then I'm like, oh, wait a second. That year happened. You know. It's supposed to be 2020, the year of the eye doctor, right? 2020, we were all excited, and then
everything shut down.
Nothing. Yep. So
hindsight 2020.
There you go. Yeah, that's what we should do for this year. Yep, you got it. I like it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And, Omaha Mom, if you have any questions, please let us know, and we can direct the answer to you in the comments.
Awesome. Thanks. Do you want me to hang on while those maybe populate, or just?